else would you rather be than right here, right now?
For Bills fans. Let's go Buffalo! By Bills fans.
Only Buffalo is going to win it!
This is the Buffalo Bills Draft House Podcast with Brad the Bruiser Eichkorn and Alex Jones.
This is pandemonium!
Here's Brad the Bruiser Eichkorn.
And welcome back for another edition of the Buffalo Bills Draft House Podcast. Brad the Bruiser Eichkorn along with Alex Jones as we have the Buffalo Bills 2024 schedule and we're ready to get into it. So we were talking, a couple quick glances. Looks like it's going to be a fun season.
100%, Brad. It's going to be a tough. The first 10 weeks are going to be a bit of a gauntlet. And it'll be interesting to see how everything plays out.
All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. We'll start out. Home opener will be a 1 o'clock kickoff here in Orchard Park as the Buffalo Bills will host the Arizona Cardinals. So kind of like that, week one, opening up with, I'd say, a very inferior opponent that I like the Bills' chances to go ahead and start the season 1-0. So, the Birds will come up. Should be nice and warm for them. They should be in their comfort level, too.
Yeah, I think that's, it makes sense that 2 years ago they started out at home. Last year they started out in New Jersey, so it make a lot of sense why they're alternating that one.
All right, let's go to week 2, which we heard about earlier this week. It is confirmed Thursday Night Football with the Buffalo Bills at the Miami Dolphins, 8:15. And I hate them going down to Miami this early in the year, but it's a night game, so the sun won't be blaring in their face. I'm hoping there's less chances for heat exhaustion in this one.
Yeah, 100%, Brad. I think that's, it's a realistic thing we worry about. Dolphins fans crying about it on social media won't ever get old.
Then go to week 3. Buffalo will be on Monday Night Football, so back-to-back prime time games. A 7:30 kickoff. I assume this is part of the doubleheader they typically do. But it'll be a 7:30 kickoff versus the Jaguars here in Western New York.
I think it's the second year in a row we were part of that doubleheader as well.
And some reunions in this one. Gabe Davis, now a member of the Jaguars. Mitch Morse as well. Is there anyone else I'm leaving out that's now a Jag?
I think those are the two.
Okay, well, be a little bit of a reunion. I'm sure they'll get a warm reception as they come here. But that'll be, I'd say, a tough game. Jacksonville, they flamed out at the end of last year, but I think they're still a force to be reckoned with, especially with a guy like Trevor Lawrence out there at quarterback. All right, let's go to week. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Alex.
No, I completely agree, Brad. I think, it's a tough opponent with Trevor Lawrence, although they seem to flame out at the end of the year. Still an incredibly good squad.
All right, and then 3 primetime games in a row coming up. Sunday Night Football versus the Baltimore Ravens. That should be a really good Sunday night matchup.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's going to be, those Sunday night matchups are a big one.
So, right now, so far, through week 4, prime time at home and 2 prime times on the road. We go to week 5 at the Houston Texans, October 6th, which is, it's funny because they played around this time of year back in 2018 as I was at that game where Josh Allen got hurt. Nathan Pickerman came in and threw the game away, and they lost by 7, I believe. Not a bad time to go down to East Texas and take on the Texans.
And the big storyline there being the reunion of Allen and Diggs. And I would expect them to have a full embrace, if not during or talking after the game at least. But, you can't have done as much you did have a reunion like that and not hug it out. Yeah, 100%. I think that'll be the case, or maybe it'll be more intense than we thought it was. And, both of them coming with a chip on their shoulder into that game.
All right, let's go to week 6, back on prime time after a week off in week 5. October 14th, they take on the New York Jets. on Monday Night Football like they did last year. This time, like I said, October 14th. So that's their Week 6 matchup. And Buffalo has dropped at least their last 2 in the Meadowlands. So I hope this is the year they break that streak and on Monday night.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, Brad.
Let's move ahead. Week 7. The Bills will take on the Tennessee Titans. That is a 1 o'clock kickoff right here in Western New York. Tennessee should be interesting. They bring on, I believe it's Brian Callahan is their new coach, which is funny because when I was a grad student at University of Nebraska and he was the head coach, I knew people that were friends with him. Like, oh, yeah, I played lacrosse with him. And now he's the head coach in the NFL for the Titans. So his Titans will come to town, take on the Bills on October 20th.
Yeah, and I think that one's going to be a little bit of a, I don't want to say an easier one, Brad, but definitely a matchup that the Bills can take advantage of.
Yeah, and I think it has potential to be an easier game, but we'll see at that point in the year. Things may change. All right, let's go right before Halloween, October 27th and Week 8. They will be heading to Seattle to take on the Hawks. That being, of course, out west is going to be a late kickoff game, 4:05 on that one. It'll be on Fox. Okay?
Yeah, that'll be, I always like a nice Fox crew game. The Fox broadcasting crew is something if you listen to this podcast regularly, Brad and I talk about quite a bit. I think the Fox crews do a really good job, honestly.
See, I like the announcing better than the production. I think their production is lacking compared to CBS, but it's nice to have different announcers for a different take.
I like sometimes too the different look. I feel like Fox goes with a more simplistic approach to their scoreboard and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I kind of like that a little bit more of a simplistic approach to their broadcast.
All right.
Not every week, but once in a while.
I get it. No, it's good to break things up here. Well, Week 9. I feel like Miami's getting a free pass here. They're here in November, so we're lucky. We're on Sunday night or Thursday night football, so it's a night game when it's going to be hot. In November, I don't know. There's potential. Could be snow, could be nothing, could be nice and warm. That's a crapshoot there, but I feel like weather favorable for the Miami Dolphins, a 1 o'clock kickoff on November 3rd.
Yeah, and Dolphins fans don't want to hear any crying about this. Kind of eliminates both of them. Also knocks out, it's pretty rare for the Bills. It feels like they normally will throw out some, divisional games later in the year. So I think it's interesting that they save those for that early in the year to knock out two an entire divisional series. Although that means they're probably going to have the Patriots. If I'm gambling, I haven't looked, but I'm gambling. It might be like a week 15, 17 thing.
Okay, well, let's go down to Week 10, where a former AFC East opponent, they'll take them on at their home at Lucas Oil, taking on the Colts on November 10th, a 1 o'clock kickoff on CBS.
That's going to be a good game, too, getting to see Anthony Richardson if he's healthy.
Yep, big if.
Big if. And then if it'll be Joe Flacco.
Crazy. The comeback player of the year. Wonder if him and DeMar Hamlin will have a pregame embrace.
Yeah, it's really interesting. They thought that, basically just playing in Cleveland was harder than literally dying.
I mean, anything in Cleveland must be really hard. I mean, Sean McDermott hasn't won crap. Dan Campbell, who got the Lions close to the Super Bowl, he hasn't won anything yet. Kevin Stefanski, a couple winning seasons here in Cleveland, you get Coach of the Year for it.
I know, it's crazy.
All right, let's fast forward, or I'll get mad if I talk about that too much.
I know.
Week 17, they take on the Kansas City Chiefs, a 4:25 kickoff here in Western New York. It's Kansas City. It's the back-to-back defending Super Bowl champions. I don't know how that won't be a marquee matchup, and it's CBS's late game, so it will be the prime game on CBS that afternoon.
It is. It's you know what? It's one of those days where it's like Fox does sometimes. They'll be like, "Oh, it's America's game of the week." You know, I think that's exactly what they're doing with this, setting it up as the marquee matchup, the primetime game that isn't in primetime.
All right, bye week 12. So we don't have to worry about any Bills football.
Another late bye.
Yep, nothing before Thanksgiving. It's going to be after Thanksgiving. So I like where the bye week is.
Yeah, I always like a little bit of a later bye week. I think that, you know, it gives you some time to recuperate and recover. You know, it's a long season, and you know what? It's okay later in the year to get that bye week, get your bodies right for the playoff push.
And for the fans who can just sit and watch Red Zone that Sunday and do their Christmas shopping online, perfect scenario.
Yes.
All right, week 13, December 1st, right after Thanksgiving, Sunday Night Football. Heard this one buzzed about recently, taking on the Niners. That's going to be a lot of fun.
It will. Last time that happened, the Bills and Josh Allen put a whooping on the Niners defense, so it'll be interesting to see if that, you know, continues.
December 8th, week 14, they are headed to Los Angeles to take on the Rams. Similar, same month as they last year, going to the Chargers down there at SoFi. So, yep, I like that week 8 matchup. Or week 14, December 8th matchup, excuse me here. So, we'll see. Will Matt Stafford still be healthy at that point? That's my question.
That's the key, right? He hasn't been able to stick it together for a full season, and can he do it now?
All right, let's go to week 15 at the Lions, a 4:20 kickoff. This is obviously going to be CBS's late game again. And, it should be a fun matchup.
Is it CBS or is it Fox?
It's CBS. The Rams game will be on Fox, but the Lions will be on CBS.
So that's the classic swap out of that feels like the one where they trade, you know, all right, CBS takes this game, even though it's an NFC home opponent, and then they get this game next week that would normally be CBS, but it'll be on Fox.
All right, week 16, we talked about, you said with 15-16. Week 16, the New England Patriots will come to town December 22nd, so good news, no Christmas game. If you're
you know what, that's always good.
I mean,
I'm fine with it. You know what? It's one of those things, like, the Christmas games are a lot of fun, but also, you know what? It's nice just to be able to and I think it broke today. Those Christmas games are going to be on Netflix, so
yes.
You know what? I'm all fine with not putting them on, you know, platforms that don't really have a history of. You know, we saw from Amazon this year there were some issues with streaming games, but you know what? I'm always okay with putting them a place that doesn't have it. I'm fine with not watching a game with a place that doesn't have a history of having games on there, because a lot of times you have errors with those games.
Then week 17, they're back in Buffalo. Again, back-to-back games in Buffalo here. They take on the Jets. That is a 1 o'clock kickoff on CBS. Okay. I mean, and that seems like the late kind of season matchup we've had, the Jets. I know last year was November, but I've been to other Jet games in December. We'll see. That could be fun.
Yeah,
too.
that feels like a common one, you know, pretty late one.
And then to close out the season, they'll be at New England in Foxborough, week 18. No idea when this will be played. We'll find out.
Yeah, I think they'll want to be able to flex that one if need be.
All right, and then preseason schedule. We'll get to see probably the number one overdraft pick, Caleb Williams and company, as the Bears will come to town here August 10th. The 17th, they're at the Steelers, as they were last year. And then week 3 of preseason, they'll be here versus the Carolina Panthers, Sean McDermott's former stomping grounds, and Brandon Beane as well. So we got a little fun preseason slate to see the Bills kind of cut their chops and get us all salivating for the regular season.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, just a couple another analysis here. All right, so week 4, 5, and 6, that's 3 straight road games in a row. Really, the only streak we have with home games is week 16 and 17. That's the only time that Buffalo will play back-to-back home games. That's crazy to think about.
It is, there's good and bad with that, right? Sometimes it's a good thing. And sometimes you're not super psyched about being on the road constantly. But you know what? I think this is a team that's good enough where, you know what? You don't have to worry about it. You know what I mean? I don't think you need to worry about it.
All right, let's get into some other Buffalo Bills news that broke around this week. Let's start with Marquez Valdes-Scantling signing with the Buffalo Bills, a 1-year deal. A guy who was notorious for a couple drops in the regular season, but had some clutch catches in the playoff time. Could just be a camp body, but I like this signing.
Yeah, it was a $4.25 million deal. I'm fine with it. Honestly, it's one of those times you're like, this is a low risk, low reward signing. I'm fine. I'm fine with that.
How about Chase Claypool? I'm not sure if we talked about it in our last episode, but how do you like the addition of Claypool here as a guy who maybe can settle down, pair well with Josh, and try to resurge his career, or a guy who could very well find his way out of the league?
Yeah, I think it's a guy who, you gotta. If Sean and Brandon Beane trust the culture on him, I trust the culture on him. He looked phenomenal as a rookie, and basically you're trying, right, to say like, hey, you know what, like we'll be able to get back what we got as a rookie. We'll be able to find that magic again, and so, it's just if you think you can get that magic back, can you get that magic back? And if you think you can, you know what? It's worth the risk. It's totally worth the risk to bring that guy in.
My brother sent me a text today. He said, Brandon Beane says, give me your sick, your weary, and your 6-foot-plus wide receivers.
I mean, yeah, in all honesty, too, it's one of those things you like, to be honest, yeah, you got to, when you're the top of the wood pile, you got to turn a lot over to see if you can find them. It
makes me feel like,
when you're paying,
like hearing this, Alex, like, do you remember the Smurfs? It feels like that's ancient history back in 2019.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. That's for sure what it feels like. It feels like they've kind of left all that small ball stuff behind them. And so, you know what? I got to trust it. I think Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott know what they're doing. So, you know what? Let's trust it.
Here's something I really think they know what they're doing. John Perry leaves Monday Night Football as their rules analyst, was a referee in the league for, I think, around 20 years. He's going to be the Bills' officiating liaison this year, and I absolutely love this move because he'll be able to go in and he'll be able to sit in the booth during games, consult, to give them an idea on how a replay could work, where it'll impact them, where it'll set up the ball. I think this is going to add more organization.
It basically feels like the Kyle Shanahan position. Like, everybody saw what Kyle Shanahan did during the playoffs. Like, okay, that'll never happen to us. Let's just bring somebody in who knows what's up.
Yeah, right? No, I like it. I like it a lot.
And I like it a lot, too. I think that's a very smart play by him. I think it's, you know what, that's a huge difference maker to know somebody who's like, hey, this is this rule in this situation. It would work out if you challenge that or not. If I completely agree with that. I think that's a very smart move by Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott.
Any other thoughts on the Bills as we finish looking over their 2024 schedule?
It seems like they've kind of tried to, but the wide receiver position, there's been such a wild difference between the previous seasons and this year. They brought in a lot of big size, big bodies, and I'm really excited to see what they can do through camp.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Buffalo Bills Draft House podcast. We'll be with you throughout this time leading up to preseason and the regular season. We have mini camp is coming up in June, and then training camp, of course, in July. Preseason will hit starting August 10th, and then before you know it, we'll be in September and rolling with the Bills. Like I said, kick off on September 8th, taking on the Arizona Cardinals. Other final thoughts this week?
Honestly, Brad, at this point, the NFL's really dragged this out. You know what? They do a good job of making an event of everything, and it feels like they finally, we're finally through everything, right? We're finally through all the trials and tribulations, and we're ready to go.
All right, and I just wanted to tabulate here the number of primetime games we'll have. Let's see. All right, so Miami Dolphins is 1. Jacksonville Jaguars is 2. Baltimore Ravens is 3. The Jets in Week 6 is 4. And then I believe the Niners, that's the last one. And that's pretty much what you're typically maxing out with. I haven't had a chance to look it over anyone's schedule. I'll be dissecting all that. But, I mean, do you remember the days where we get the schedule and it was just all 1 o'clock kickoffs? I mean, what a treat and what a time to be a Buffalo Bills fan that we have 5 primetime games, a lot of late afternoon games. I'm pumped up.
I am, but I miss the 1 o'clocks, Well, at the same time, I've started to love the primetime games simply because now you can sit back and just hang out and watch Red Zone, watch whatever you want to do,
Yes.
If you have something you need to do during the day, you're not like, oh, I got to watch on my phone. You can kind of pay a little less attention to those midday games.
This is true. So, yeah, I think based on the schedule, I think Western New York and Bills Mafia can have a pretty productive fall, get stuff done, watch their team late afternoon and the night. Some 1 o'clock kickoffs, of course, but I don't know. I like the way the schedule looks so far. I'm on board.
Yeah, me too. Completely agree, Brad.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Buffalo Bills Draft House podcast. We remind you to follow us across our social media platforms at Buffalo DHS, at TW Callahan DHS, at Bills Bruiser. You can find us on Facebook.com/Buffalo Bills Draft House and DraftHouseSports.com. For Alex Jones, I'm Brad the Bruiser Eichkorn. Go Bills.
This has been the Buffalo Bills Draft House Podcast.
Available on Spotify, Odyssey, Prime Music, Audible, or wherever you get your podcasts.
An R Street Media production.